So, I tried out the new SCUM update, and I'm going to be giving you a complete unbiased review. I wasn't gifted SCUM, I wasn't paid to make a video about SCUM, I wasn't paid to stream SCUM on the release of the new update. I am an old returning player coming back to see if anything's changed. I'm going to give you my complete honest opinion on what I thought of it. We streamed about 8.5 hours in one go, just trying everything out. I have about 660 hours in SCUM, and we used to stream it a lot, but kind of didn't go in the direction that we liked, so we ended up switching games a little bit. We ended up getting a bit bored of SCUM, but we wanted to give it a chance and try it on the update and see what had been added, and if anything had changed, and if it was any different from the last time we played. I'm going to say this now: if you are a SCUM diehard fan, then this may not be the video for you, because my opinion may not be favourable, but I do think it's important to have a different perspective on the update and the game without it being biased by streamers that may be worried to say their honest opinion because they don't want to miss out getting invited to events or so on. So let's get into it. I'll be having kind of a talk over, including footage from the stream that we did, kind of vibe going on here, and I hope you can kind of guess where I'm going with it and it makes sense. But let's break this down. So as you may have seen from the Summerfest trailer that they released and the uncensored version, if anyone has played SCUM before, it made the game look very different. It made it look like Mad Max, like PUBG, and if you've played SCUM before, most of what happened in that trailer doesn't actually really happen in the game other than the shitting, which is a common feature throughout trailers and talking points in SCUM. Let's just get it out of the way. You can shit and piss in SCUM. Okay? It wears off eventually, I promise. You can shit and piss, okay. We're done? Alright, brilliant. Obviously, there was the NPCs that were added. Now, we did come across these NPCs. I have been playing ABI, so maybe I'm used to the movement and the voice line in ABI, but the NPCs seemed a bit flat. They don't really voice line too much when you go near them. Some of them just shoot at you, and you can't tell if it's a player or an NPC, but they don't really chase after you. They just kind of ping off a couple of arrows and you're like, the hell's going on? And then that's really it. And then the one I did come across in the city, I saw him, turned around to get distance between us so I could shoot back, and before I knew it, I was two-shot and I was dead. And then I had to respawn, which brings me to my next point about the respawn system in SCUM that still gets on my tits, Anyway, let's talk about it. So SCUM introduced a new system back when I was playing last time, where instead of fame points were used to respawn, we were using money. And I hated it when it was introduced, and I still hate it because I feel like it's created this playstyle within players that are too scared to fight, they're too scared to leave their base, and it has morphed this hoarding mentality into players. And I'll delve into this a little bit more. So before, with the fame points, you could just shoot zombies with arrows, you could craft things, and your fame points would go up, and then with that you would choose a sector spawn and you would, spawn where you wanted to go. Now it's a money system, so you have to find money and put them into ATMs with a bank card, and you can find money in cash registers. Obviously sometimes the cash register is empty and sometimes you don't get a lot. If you die before getting any money into your bank account, you will then start going into debt. So then you have to farm up money, which is already a little bit difficult to get if you're not near a safe zone, to then make up that debt, and then more to be able to pay for a sector spawn, which is, a little bit annoying. But let's say in this ginormous map that they have, you don't live near a safe zone, you live in the city, or you live somewhere else that isn't necessarily near to this safe zone. You can sell stuff in this safe zone for money, put it in your bank account, then you can do earn your money for sector respawns that way. However, again, if you don't live near these safe zones, it's quite a run. Running simulator, that's a common joke. It's quite a run to get to these safe zone, which runs the risk of running into the NPCs that can just seamlessly two-shot you with no warning, or a player can shoot you, and little do you know, you're now in debt again, and you're having to respawn. This whole system of the money, I think, has made the player base play the way that they do, like melts. In the whole 8 hours of playing, we saw 2 people. on release day of the update. We saw 2 people in 8.5 hours. Because, I don't know if this is more of an official thing or a modded thing, but we usually play officials. People do just hide in their bases. They hoard up a shit ton of stuff. They get gear fear, and they're scared to go outside because it's a bit of a pain in the ass respawning. I'm not saying that that's 100% down to it, but that's how I feel. I don't want to die. I get nervous about fighting people because I simply just can't be bothered with the respawning aspect of it. It's become a pain in the bottom. For the whole 8.5 hours we were playing, we went to the city. Now, when the city update came out, I will say that I loved the city when it was all open and everything could be looted. But as you may or may not know, when the city update was released, there was a lot of people complaining that they couldn't run the game in the city. They were lagging quite badly. So it was decided within the dev team that they would start closing some of the city up. Now, we thought it would just be a little bit, but they closed a lot of the city up, which I don't get it. I don't get it. They had a small portion of people that couldn't go into the city and play in there because it was lagging. So they were like, okay, you guys can't come into the city because it's lagging, so we're going to close a bunch of stuff up. So now you don't have a real reason to come to the city because there's nothing really left to loot. It doesn't really make much sense. So we came back into the update day thinking, hey, they said they reworked the towns, maybe the city's been open more. Maybe there's more to loot in there. Maybe there's a reason to go to the city now. And to our surprise, they're closed even more up of the city. Oh, I don't get all the effort they went into in creating the city update just to lock it all up. It used to be amazing. We'd always live in the city. We'd have a base there. We'd run around. Oh, someone's got a base in this room because there were so many rooms you could lock up. And then you'd log off. You come back. Someone else has locked up another room in the city. And it was this continuous kind of stream of people coming in and out of the city, like a city. But now there's only a handful of places that you can lock up. There's not really that much to loot other than the stadium, which isn't that great loot. And if you just go to an abandoned bunker or a normal bunker, you're going to get better loot than what's in there anyway. So the city is just pants, unfortunately. And I hate that. I loved the city. I will say, a positive. It was very graphically beautiful at some points. There was points where we were running around in a game and I thought, wow, it does look pretty. It does look beautiful. But I will say from the 8.5 hours that I played, I left again feeling disappointed at what was added, because I think mainly because of I wanted to say it was because of the trailers, you know, the way that they hyped it up and made it look so manic, that you were going to be bumping into people, all this action was going to be happening, and then really all that happened for us was the NPCs were annoying and unpredictable. Well, I'll rephrase that. The NPCs were annoying and predictable. They were easy to cheese, but were also two-shotting you with no voice line to warn you. There was hardly anyone to be seen. The first person we saw was just running with their tits out with a bow. The second person I saw was still in his prisoner outfit with a bow, and they were both easily killed. And then other than that, it was empty. We ended up doing a kill box, but again, this was before this update release, so this wasn't anything new that was added. It very much just felt like the same game, but with annoying NPCs. It was really disappointing, and I feel sorry for a lot of new players that maybe came in thinking it was going to be like the Summerfest trailer, and really the only thing they got that was similar to the Summerfest trailer was them being able to take a poo. Because SCUM isn't like that trailer. It is a heavy survival game where, you know, it can be a running simulator, and you may not see anyone, or you may go to a bunker, or you might go to boot camp and you see lots of people, and it's very, very unpredictable, but it's definitely not what was advertised in the trailer unless you're playing on a super modded community server where there's an event on, I guess. I will say too, I still think the map is far too big for the player base that it has. It spreads people out far too much, to the point where you could be on a 60 player server and you still might not see anyone. I think it would be beneficial for the map to be ever so slightly smaller, so that there is that feeling that was portrayed in the trailer. I'm not here to, you know, shit on the game and say, I hate it, I will play it again. I will go back and play it again. But it's not how it used to be when we would log on every single day and play it, and it was fun and I enjoyed it and I couldn't wait for the next day to play it so we could do more and we could raid more. But now it just feels flat, and I'm sad about that. I loved SCUM, I really did. It's more of a, I'm annoyed because of how much I liked the game and I've completely lost what I loved about it. We did have some laughs though playing it, and ironically the thing that was the funniest was me taking a pee without pulling my trousers down or holding my winky, and I was just pissing with my hands down to my side. That was probably like one of the funniest bits that happens. Should that be the funniest thing that happens when you're playing a game for 8.5 hours with a friend? Maybe not, but you know, it still made us laugh. The kill box was still enjoyable. We did that. It'd been a while since we played, so we forgot to bring rubber gloves, and it ended up being a little bit difficult, but we liked that. It was difficult, it was chaotic, there was a lot going on. We enjoyed the kill box, but again, this was something that was introduced before this update. Now, there was a point that I actually did see the dropship, NPC ship, hovercraft thing, but it just flew over me and didn't do anything. I don't know whether I did something wrong or I didn't know what was going on, but I was like, oh, a dropship. And then that was kind of it. It didn't really do anything after that. And I was like, oh, okay. Another thing I will add is that the mechs still aren't perfect. And it's annoying in a sense because we had this big release, this new update, all this great stuff is coming. But hey, the mechs that have been in for ages, they're still not working correctly. They're still trying to shoot me through walls. They're somehow seeing me through a wall when they shouldn't be able to. They're firing bullets through the wall and hitting us somehow, and we're having to change to a different part of the wall and then it's fine. With the NPCs, they're not 100% great with their pathing or their intelligence, which was such a big factor of this update, was that the NPCs were going to be added. And the devs are going to say, oh yeah, we're going to improve them, but shouldn't they have been great to begin with, considering this is one of the main selling points of this update, was that we were going to have these NPCs and they've been released and we're already addressing the fact that we're having to fix them. Again, it feels like a really rushed, not very well thought out update that was released, which, because of these things that weren't addressed or looked into properly or tested properly, has then left people thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, kind of thing. You know, really, we could... It leaves another sense of disappointment in you, but not because you're disappointed because you don't enjoy the game, but you're disappointed because you want to enjoy the game, because you're missing that feeling that you had before with SCUM, and then you don't get it, and you're like, God fucking damn it, you know? I just miss how SCUM used to be. I don't know whether my opinion on the money system is unpopular. It probably is, but I find that the player base on SCUM is, I don't know how to say it nicely. People are afraid to fight, which is, you know, we're meant to be these convicts chucked on this island, you know, we're being watched on these drones, we've got puppets that are controlled, you know, we're almost like a test subject where we're being toyed at. You, as a convict, you would go a bit crazy in this life and death situation where you've got to scavenge for food, you've got to scavenge for guns. You would be hostile to thy neighbour. But instead, everyone's built some 4-wall deep wooden base in the woods that you can't raid, and you never see them because they're scared about respawning because the money system sucks. It's a pain in the ass running across the map because it's so big. Oh, and if you do find a vehicle, every single vehicle that we found in the 8.5 hours that we played was completely broken, and finding parts for the vehicles was even more rare than finding the vehicle itself. So, running it is. I gotta run across this ginormous map because I'm in debt again from dying, but getting to an ATM is difficult. Finding the money to put into my bank account is even more difficult because some of the cash registers I loot have no money in them. I hope you see the dots that I'm connecting there. Again, I'm holding out hope that SCUM goes in a direction where I can go back on a big update like this and I play it and I feel that feeling of nostalgia with it that I'm so yearning for. Does that make sense? That probably wasn't even the correct English. It's just frustrating. I know in the past the devs haven't been so great with taking criticism, but there was a lot of players that were invited to stream SCUM under #ad that didn't have anything to compare it to. It was their first time playing it, they've come from another game, so this is their first look at it. They've got nothing else to base it on, and they probably think, wow, this game's really cool. But for us players that have been playing it for a while, we're like, it's just the same. But something else has just been added and it doesn't work. Nothing different. I'm not saying this because I want the game to fail. I'm saying this because I want them to listen to the old player base, not necessarily somebody that has no idea about the game that's going to play it for one night and go, yeah, that was really fun, and then go back to the game they were playing before. I hope that criticism can be taken correctly, in a way where they can think, okay, this wasn't working, people don't like this, and then it can grow from there, rather than it just being played off as so-and-so didn't like this game, well, fuck them, you know. And I hope it didn't come off too negative, because look, in the 8.5 hours I played it, there was, you know, I'd say about 60% of it I did enjoy, but again, I was playing with a best friend, so I feel like if playing anything with my best friend would probably be enjoyable. I don't mean to be a negative Nancy. I really don't, because I'm usually not negative about anything. I've got 3k hours in Rust. I've been putting up with their fucking updates for ages. I'm a loyal player, but SCUM is just a difficult one for me, because there was a real time in SCUM when I was playing that I logged onto my PC and I was excited to launch it because of what might happen. But now I launch SCUM and I know I'm probably not going to see anyone. I'm probably going to be in the same abandoned bunker and putting stuff in a box to hoard. It sucks. But let's see when the next update, if anything changes and anything new comes in. I hope that there will be changes, positive changes, that entice the old player base to come back a little bit more. And I hope that criticism can be taken nicely, please. But yeah, that's what I thought about the new SCUM update. Let me know what you think.